This is the Schmo with the pro, with the future Hall of Famer, the play-by-play man of the UFC, Jon Anik in the flesh, in the Etihad Arena. How we doing?
We're doing great. My body fat percentage can't look great standing this close to this guy, but it's always a highlight of my week to talk to the Schmo. Let's go.
Hey, the stash game is still going strong.
Well, thank you. People seem to be mesmerized by this mustache. You know, I grew up in the 70s and 80s where this mustache wasn't really a big deal. Seems to be a bigger deal in 2021, though.
Yeah, keep this guy away from the Pornhub studios. Now, talk to me for a second, man. You're a New England guy. Let's start off with this. Which member of the New England Cartel will be fighting for a belt first? Rob Font or Calvin Kattar?
Well, Calvin Kattar's getting an opportunity to face a former champion for the first time who has the number one next to his name. So I think there's going to be a ladder to climb for Rob Font. Given how crowded bantamweight is, I think it's ambitious to think that he'll get a title shot in 2021, even if he wins his next fight. So I think for Calvin Kattar, you beat Max Holloway, you do so decisively. I think you idle and wait for a championship opportunity. So I will say Kattar mania could be taking over the streets of Boston in the not-too-distant future.
So let's talk about the last time Calvin lost. It was against this one man in the featherweight division, Zabit Magomedsharipov. Who do you think he's fighting next? We haven't seen him fight in 2020.
I know the fans have a healthy appetite for the fight between Zabit Magomedsharipov and Yair Rodriguez, but for whatever reason, it doesn't seem like that is going to materialize. I think there are a lot of good featherweight options. I would kind of like to see Zabit fight a returning Josh Emmett, depending on his calendar, so that's kind of the first name on the tip of my tongue. I think Emmett might be the most powerful featherweight in UFC history, and I would like to see him in there with a guy who has as many skills in his striking arsenal as Zabit. So that's all I can do from a matchmaking standpoint for you.
Yeah, the Schmo butchered his name. That's why you're the pro and I'm the Schmo. Now talk to me for a second. We are Schmoments away from the biggest meeting anticipated here so far in 2021. We have Khabib and the boss man Dana White. Does Jon Anik think that the boss man Dana will convince Khabib to return for one more fight?
If any man can convince any other man in this world to do anything, it is probably my boss, UFC President Dana White. That being said, it's all about his competitive desire, and I don't believe Khabib has that itch right now to compete. Here's the one thing that I've been throwing out there. Islam Makhachev is the equalizer for me in all of this. If one of these UFC lightweights can beat Islam Makhachev, who Khabib and Eagles MMA believe is going to be the next UFC lightweight champion, if Drew Dober, one of these guys, can beat Islam, then I think Khabib would probably want to fight that guy. So I don't think Khabib's going to be able to scratch the competitive itch by coaching or by doing a grappling competition. So I do think eventually we'll see him back, but in the next 12 months, I don't think you're going to see him.
So the Schmo gets the sense that Jon Anik doesn't think that number 13 next to Islam's name is warranted. It should be a little bit higher.
No doubt about it. And again, if it were not for Khabib Nurmagomedov, it stands to reason that Makhachev would have ascended more expeditiously. So I like Islam a whole bunch, and he's had a hard time getting fights, as is well documented. But Drew Dober signed on the dotted line, I believe, and we'll see what he can do with the chance.
Now, Dana White said that if Conor McGregor beats Dustin Poirier, he's going to be fighting for a title next, but we don't hear about the other side of the coin, Dustin Poirier. Do you think he's getting a little overlooked in this situation? And if he wins, it's a sure thing he's going to be fighting for a title.
I think that's fair to say, but I think even though Dana maybe didn't articulate it, I think one half of the lightweight championship equation is going to be whoever wins this fight. And obviously there's a huge opportunity right before them for Michael Chandler and Dan Hooker. It's a lightweight elimination tournament, obviously, on January 23rd. But even though Dustin hasn't been promised anything publicly, you go out there and beat Conor McGregor, especially you finish the guy, you're waiting for a shot at the undisputed title. So I feel like Dustin knows what's in front of him.
Now, Jon, this is our third time in a year back here in Abu Dhabi Fight Island. What's the most overlooked storyline here? We got 3 fights in, a week's time?
It's amazing. You know, all the shows tend to run together. But the guy who just weighed in last today, Santiago Ponzinibio, we were talking about this guy on the way over. With respect to Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns, I think I've said this week, it stands to reason that Ponzinibio is the best welterweight in the world right now. But he's been out since 2018. You can Google the story, just nasty with the staph and bacterial infections. He left with a 7-fight winning streak. He left with a high ranking. Winning streak still intact. The ranking is gone. But that's a bad man. And if he can get through a very tough Li Jingliang, I think Ponzinibio is going to set himself up for a massive 2021.
Yeah, just ask Neil Magny, who's going to be headlining here January 20th, how strong this man is.
And of course, that was the last time we saw Ponzinibio. It's crazy to think a main event against Magny all the way back in 2018. You can argue it was Santiago Ponzinibio's best performance. I'm just a little bummed out because I finally learned how to pronounce Gente Boa, which I guess means like nice guy in Brazilian Portuguese, and now he's the Argentine Dagger. So extremes there, going from nice guy to A fucking dagger, huh?
Yeah. Now, Umar Nurmagomedov, the cousin of Khabib, this storyline, I think, is a little undervalued here. You know, he was supposed to be on UFC 257. They moved him to January 20th. There could have been an overlap with Khabib and Conor McGregor.
And that's a fight between Umar Nurmagomedov and Sergey Morozov that was booked once before as well. And I prepped that fight once before. I prepped it again because I thought it was going to be on UFC 257. And now I'm not calling it. But obviously the hype is on both of those guys. And a lot of people say in these middle UFC divisions, 35 through 70, there's not an easy out in the top 40. And I think that fight certainly speaks to that.
Nate Diaz returning to 155 pounds. Who does Jon Anik think he'll be fighting next? We thought it'd be Paul Felder. He denounced that yesterday.
I mean, are you going to make me pull out the 209 tattoo right now on live TV? I mean, as long as Nate's in there, I don't really care who he faces. I think there are a lot of appetizing matchups for him. Again, though, I would like to see us get some clarity this weekend because Nate Diaz wants to give the most deserving guys the opportunity. Guys like Jorge Masvidal who have carried themselves a certain way in their career. Those are the guys that Nate and Nick want to give the opportunity to have that payday that comes with fighting a Diaz brother. So I think Dan Hooker fits that mold. And if you've seen what he's been saying all week, he certainly has an appetite for that fight. So I'm intrigued by Diaz Hooker, but obviously Dan has some business to attend to here first.
Jon Jones looking beefy, 250 pounds. But here's the thing. We have to wait for Francis Ngannou, Stipe Miocic, and then Jan Blachowicz is obviously fighting Israel Adesanya. Are we going to have to wait to the end of 2021 to see Jon Jones back in the octagon?
It's a tricky proposition, right, to throw him in there with a heavyweight who is not the champion. But it's just crazy to think that when he's finally making this move, the scariest puncher in UFC history, Francis Ngannou, is there waiting in the wings, about to challenge for the title and could potentially be the champion. I think a lot of us envision a scenario whereby Jon Jones moved up and was fighting maybe someone like Stipe, who's 235, 240. I am fascinated at the prospect of a fight between Jon Jones and Francis just to see them face to face. But I think Stipe might have something to say about that.
Excellent. Can we get a final message for the Jon Anik fans out there worldwide?
Well, I appreciate all the support sincerely. You know, we've had 10 years to turn a morass of negativity into some support, and it's not lost on me. You know, I used to sort of sift through social media looking for the haters, and now I'm just looking for the love. So I thank you all, to a man, to a woman, and great to chop it up with you, my man, as always.
Always great. He's a lover, not a hater. Jon Anik here in Abu Dhabi. We are